Hey there viewers, and today we're going to be focusing on a section of the website which is going to be a features section, which I think is a nice one to practice on. We're going to be using auto layout, simple shapes, a bit of typography and color. And before we get into the video, if you do like the content, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell. And my name is Roy. I'm a web designer, and I highly encourage you to practice every day, and I promise you will grow stronger. And let's get into the video. So I'm going to create a new frame, and this frame is going to be the iMac 128720. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to very quickly do a Shift A. This is making it into an auto layout straight away. I'm gonna say I want it to be fixed, and I'm gonna say that we also want everything to align in the middle, and then I'm just gonna place a frame inside, and we're gonna give this a color of Grey 200. This is from Tailwindcss Colors version 2 in the community. And if I go back, let's reduce everything to 0 and 0. But the gap on top and bottom, we want it to be healthy. So let's say 128 and 128. We are then gonna then, let's say if we put fill container, fills the whole thing. We are going to copy this 3 times. So Command C, Command V, Command V. Oop, that went inside. Let's click on here. Command V. We're going to select all 3. Oh, it's already straight away filled it nicely. So if I select all 3 and I do Shift A, and I want a gap between them of 16, and this also has the fill container. Okay, so that is not fluid right now, so what we can do is we'll click on here. Instead of fixed width, we go to fill container. This will be fill container, and this will also be fill container. So now if we were to reduce it, it's fluid. And if we go back to this main, if we actually go to the, let's see, the main frame here, if you put a padding on the left and the right of 68 and 68. Why are we saying 68? We're saying 16 times by 2. We're using the 8-point grid. Oops. Ooh, that didn't work out. And then times by 2 is actually 64. So 64 padding on the left and the right. And straight away, if I were to delete one, let's see, will it fill it? Yes, it fills the whole thing very nicely. So if I go back, Command V. Great. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just put in the items. So we'll start with a very simple, let's say we start with the circle. That circle is going to be, I'm going to use a height of 72, so you can lock the constraints or constrain proportions. 72. We're going to make sure that everything inside this is going to align. So what you have to now do is convert this to an auto layout. So either you go here, or I do Shift A for the shortcut. And then what we want to do is make sure there's no, well, we're going to give it spacing, so 16 between the items. We're also going to make this center aligned. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go in here and we're going to give it, we're going to place a heading inside. So heading, and it's not lining up properly, and you'll probably figure it out. And we're going to make this a size of 24. And when we go back to this frame, it's saying to go horizontal, but we want it to be vertical. Lovely. And we also want to add a text, and now it's going outside of everything, which is not great. So if we go back to this auto layout, we want to then make sure that this is hug contents. So it's practically just hugging around these 3 items. And then we want to put in some lorem ipsum. So again, what we want to do first, let's make this 18 for the body text. We are also going to use a plugin, so right click, plugin, lorem ipsum. We're going to do 1 sentence, generate. That one is going outside of the container. So what we want to do again is we want to come here, make sure you've got the text item selected, and then you just do fill container. And actually that is not doing exactly what we wanted. We actually want it to hug contents. No, fill container. Okay, not sure why it's gone so thin. So what we're going to do, we're just going to bring this up. There we go. And then we're just going to change the order. So we actually want, if we click on the circle, we just tap up twice. There we go. And a little tiny detail is we also want to group these 2. So if you do shift and click, so now they're both selected, you do shift A. So now this is put into auto layout. We want to align it in the middle, and the padding between them is 8. We want to make it a bit tighter, or actually should it be 0? Okay, well, let's give it 8, a bit more generous. Okay, that's fine. So if we go back in here, we also want to remove, let me just see if, okay, yeah. So here we've got padding on the top, which we want to remove, and on the bottom. And if we click on there, okay, that's fine. So now we've basically got our first item, and now we just want to see how this goes. So if I delete this one, now if you select this one, Command C, Command V, great. Delete that one, Command C, Command V, wonderful. So now you have our three items or 3 columns, and now we just want to create a second row. So you select the whole frame, say Command C, Command V. Now this is where we want it to stack or go below. So we're just gonna go to iMac, and we want this to vertical direction. Okay, so that's kind of messed it up. So what we want to do now is we're just going to go to the first frame, which is 11, and we want this to hug contents. We want to do the same for this one, which is also hug contents, and then this one we want to have a fixed width of 1280 again, and then these 2 we want them to fill container and fill container again. And it seems a bit tedious, but the nice thing is you're not really dragging or figuring out the size. You're using the tools in auto layout to do this for you, which is this kind of similar in if you're doing development as well, front end and CSS. So now we also want to have the gap. So we don't want to fix height, we want it to hug contents. So now it's going to retain that 128 padding top and bottom, but these 2 now we have to have a gap between them. So if I go back here, let's increase the gap, or let's say 32, and let's make it a bit more, so let's say 64. And what we can do is select the whole thing. We're going to get rid of that grey background, and it doesn't seem you can do it like that. So if I click on this frame, you still can't do it that way. Interesting. Okay, which means you have to click on them one at a time and minus it. So when you remove these colors, you can see what the spacing is like. And what I mean when I mean spacing is proximity, which you might have heard of this term for UX. Items that are very close, or items that are close together, appear together. So you want to, this one here kind of is close to this, so let's increase the gap between, or the proximity, let's increase the gap. So if we go back to the whole frame, we're going to make this 64. Okay, now that gap is better. So now you can, now this doesn't seem like it's part of this. And then the last thing we need is a header. So we just click in there and we just position at the top. Let's see if it does it. So features, great, it does it. We want to make that the biggest on the hierarchy, so 40, and we're going to make it bold. The only thing I want to do here is we probably want to give it its own auto layout, so Shift A, and the reason why is because we can give it its own padding, which is great. So this again is very similar to front end dev. If you're building it out, you just put bottom padding of 64, and now you got that nice gap, and then that gap might be too much, so let's say 32, and there we are. And that is practically that, right? I think I've made the gap a bit bigger, so if I was to go back to these two, and I think 80, there we go. So now we're just increasing the spacing a bit, and that's it really. So then the next task to do is to put in the different shapes. These you can imagine these to be icons, images possibly, but we're just putting these in as practice. So for example, let's put in a triangle in here, and these ones are a bit different. So for example, if I just place that in there, we want to give it a height of 72, which is not going to be exactly the same, but, and then we can just flip vertical, we'll delete that one, and now we have a triangle. Next one, we want to add a star, and we're going to create different shapes. So click in there, we're going to give this a height of 72, and we're going to delete that one. Nice. And then now we're just going to add a square to this one, rectangle, and again we do 72, delete that one, and now we can use the star to create these different shapes. So it's a very nice thing in Figma. So you just play around with these values. For example, if I went down to 3 and I increase this up to 98, you get this nice shape. If I delete that one, and I also have to bring the height, make the height the same to 72. Okay, great. And what else was there? Okay, so I'm not sure why this height, this one seems a bit taller than the other ones. We'll figure that out in a minute. And then the last one is another star, And this one, we're going to bring this up to 80%, I believe. And I think that is that, yes. And then if we delete this one, also bring the height to 72. Okay, there we go. So I'm not sure why the height here is going a bit funny, but we will figure it out. So if I was to copy that one, 16, 16, okay, let's see why. So if I was to go in here and copy, change the order, if I delete that one, there we go. I think it's because it's in a different area of the frame. And then in here, if I were to go down to 3 and then bring that up to, let's say 100, there we go. Nice. There we have it. And then to get this really nice effect, again, you can do anything you want. You can have solid colors, but I'm going to use the mesh gradient fill. And just to show you how to do that, let's just go into where I put the goodies, which is in resources, mesh gradients. We're going to get a bunch of these in. So let's get those two in. Let's get flax. Ooh. So we've already got 3 in. Let's just move that over there. We need a couple more. So sky blue, did I get sky blue? Yeah, don't think I did, so let's get that in. Banana mania. And last one will be rice flour. Okay, so that's very messy. So the nice thing you can do is you can just select them all, Shift A to create auto layout again, and it nicely arranges it for you. And let's have these horizontal. So now we can just place it around there. We can now create a fill style. So if you go to this one and we just say mesh 1, same thing, mesh 2, mesh 3. Oop, that was not the right button. Mesh 4. Oop, I'm still not doing it right. I'm mesh 4, and then mesh 5, and then lastly, oop, and we go here and we go mesh 6. Okay, so now we just go into this shape and then we fill it with the first one. Boom, beautiful. Again here, we'll just go in the next one, and the next one, and the fourth. Oop. Fifth, and the last one. There we go. Nice. Not sure why there was a border in that one. I must have pressed it by accident, so let's just get rid of that. And now one user commented about color, so I'll do a proper video on color, but for now, just to keep it simple, in terms of text, try not to go solid black. And I'm not sure why the height on that's a bit funny. Let's see why. Okay, it's because what you need to do is have the shape outside of the frame. So in this case, the shape has to be outside of the frame, and then change the order. There we go. So now it's nicely aligned, and they are all nicely aligned. Okay, cool. So again, if we go back to color, a really nice way that I found out recently to select all the colors of text. Just go into one of them, and then you go to the edits, which you can't see on the video, but if you go to the edits on the top menu toolbar, select with the same fill, and now we want to go to gray 900. Okay, so you don't want solid black on pure white because it's very harsh on the eyes. It's a tiny detail. And then for the body text, we want this to be a lighter gray. So a nice way to do that is you select this one. Again, you go to edit in the Figma menu. We want to select with the same properties. Okay, so hopefully that's highlighting all the ones at that size, which it seems to be. And then we go to gray 500. So now it's a tiny detail, but now your eyes are not so, everything is solid black, for example. Now you're having a lighter gray because your eyes are going to scan, they're going to see the contrast of the heading and then read the text. So there we go. We have a really nice feature section. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we're just going to do nice little sections, and by the end of the week we're going to have a really nice website, right? So yeah, it's a bit of a change from the weekly project, but I thought it'd be nice to focus on these. And if we quickly do a dark version, so just copy the whole frame, and here we can just, let's change the colors of the text first. So I go and double click inside, and then I'll go to the menu again, select all with the same fill. So that's probably all the headings. I'm going to make this the gray 100 because we're going to go dark mode, and then do the same here. So edit, select with the same properties, and this one I'm probably going to make this gray 300. Let's see how that looks, if the contrast is good or not. Then we select the whole frame, and we're going to go to gray 900. Nice. Okay, so that's not too bad at all. That is not too bad. So now you have, oh, it actually selected all of those as well. That's not great. That is not great. So I'm going to quickly do this the long way. So they're in different frames, but it seems to apply to the whole thing, so the whole canvas. So now I'm just going to go and do this manually, so bear with me here. And again, we're just doing this, we're just going into each one, and that one is gray 500, and these ones as well. The last two is gray 500. Great. There we go. So we got really nice feature section, and you can create this as a component, and now you have a feature section component that you can use in any project. And it's quite nice to build up your component library, you know, day by day, practice every day. Now you're building a really nice collection of components that you can use in any project really that will need this type of section. And quite a lot of startups, they do have a section with features, or this could be something else with you know, 6 columns. So yep, my name is Roy. I'm a web designer. If you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Cheers, bye.